So, what they really care about is feeling safe and finding solutions that are emotionally resonant with them. And this is another conclusion I've drawn over the years is that what is the financially optimal solution often is not the right answer for the client.
Today's guest on the Keynote Curators podcast is Ann Lester. Ann is an expert in retirement for rising leaders who want to retire smart and happy. She's also an author and a media commentator. In our conversation, you're going to learn about the mindset that's required to be successful in the long term for your retirement investments. But more importantly, and what you probably find most interesting is that Ann, just like all of us, had to learn what it meant to retire smart and happy. She shares her personal journey that will prove to be valuable for you wherever you are in your journey to begin to expand your knowledge and capacities around your retirement. It's a fascinating conversation. We're glad you're here with us, so listen in. Well, welcome to today's version of Curated Insights with Seth Dechtman. We have a special guest, Ann Lester. We're going to be talking all things financial services, financial health, financial well-being. I want to welcome you, a big heartfelt welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's going to be a great conversation. I just wanted to start off right at the outset so we can create a little bit of sense of your journey in the work that you do. What inspired you to embark on this journey of educating, informing, and transforming individual and organizations' financial worlds?
So we could start that conversation in a ton of different places, but one place I start with is myself at the age of 33, working at JP Morgan as a fixed income and foreign exchange trader, trying to fill in the little worksheet online for retirement and finding it horrifying. I mean, I still remember typing in all these little answers, how old am I? When do I want to retire? And the questions got kind of complicated pretty quickly. And sort of, how much am I spending? Like, I don't know what I'm spending now. How am I supposed to answer what I think I'll spend when I'm 65, which is like so far away I can't even imagine that. And then I still remember this. It asked me what I thought inflation was going to be from now until I retired, and I was just like, I'm out. Like, I am out. I'm going to go do the dishes. And I didn't even try to figure that answer out for another 2 years. How much should I be saving for retirement? The wheel turns. I ended up joining a team at JP Morgan that focused on building portfolios for retirement. And I was asked to see what we could do in the 401k space. So I started doing research about behavioral economics and what caused people to struggle with choice and saving. And it was enlightening to me, right? How much our own brains get in the way of doing the right thing, right? So you're supposed to do something. Why is it so hard to do it? And that set me off on a 20-year journey to building retirement products for people, and now wanting to talk directly to people about the importance of saving and to help their advisors, financial advisors, plan sponsors connect more meaningfully with their people.
It's so fascinating to hear that. And I really mean it. It's fascinating because so much of our individual work that impacts people's lives and organizations comes from a personal experience. And the thing that pulls me in there is not only what you learn, but how you began to study behaviors.
Right.
And there's a phrase that just, as I was listening to you, it kind of rung in my mind. Knowing doesn't make a difference. So I'm not equating somebody who is struggling with their retirement planning or getting their financial house in order with any type of addiction, but somebody who has a drinking problem. They know that perhaps this next glass of wine or pint of beer or whatever they're drinking, they know it's not a good choice and it's not the best choice, but they do it anyway. And that behavior happens all over. Can you go a little bit deeper on that? What you see, particularly with the challenge that financial planners have coming from a place of wanting to impact in the most positive light, in the most positive way, their clients, and how they can best dig their teeth in there and overcome that.
So, You use the word addiction, and my personal framing for this is losing weight, which is something I episodically struggle with, and let's just say the pandemic has not been my friend,
Well,
nor
that
has my
makes two of us.
sourdough.
That makes two of us.
I think we're not alone, but nor has my sourdough baking kick. So, but I make an excellent half whole wheat sourdough loaf now.
Ooh,
It's good
have you
stuff.
dabbled into pretzels?
No,
Mm,
no, they're a little scary.
that's
You
where
gotta do the
that's
whole
where I
lye
go.
wash. Oh,
That's
wow.
where I
Okay.
go.
We'll talk about baking later. But it's basically impulse control, right? And there's so much research on, Nobel Prizes have been won about this, right? What takes over in your brain? What hijacks your rational mind, and you find yourself doing whatever it is, and it's could be buying a new pair of shoes, it could be eating, half a bag of cookies, whatever it is. Your rational brain often isn't in charge of the decisions we make. And I think one of the most important things we can do to help break that cycle is first and foremost to recognize that and to forgive yourself, right? Because I
Yeah.
certainly I mean, I won't say it's not in the past tense. Sadly, I think this is a lifelong journey for me.
Yeah.
But how do you accept who you are and where you are and acknowledge it and for not get judgy and moralistic about it? And this is, again, I think somewhere financial advisors can be hugely helpful to their clients and help them understand that financially speaking, your brain wants what it wants, what's in front of it right now. And when you're saving money for the future, your brain doesn't recognize your future self as yourself. Your brain thinks that future self is a total stranger.
Mm,
So you're causing yourself pain by taking something away from yourself that you want right now, like the new pair of shoes, and you're giving that money to a total stranger. So it feels terrible.
yeah.
So I think one of the most important roles an advisor can play is actually helping people untangle their own sort of wiring, B, help people understand what emotional connections they have to their money and what it means to them, because I think money can mean very different things to different people. And then third, help create better habits, because putting yourself in the position of having to wrestle, I talk about wrestling with today guy and tomorrow guy, right? And you yourself and your rational brain always loses that fight. Like you will never win that fight. So you don't want to let those two guys start duking it out. What you want to do is create habits and hack yourself so that you're not in the position of having to wrestle with that. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, a huge role that financial advisors can play with their clients. It's so important to help people understand what's going on with their emotions and their brain so that they can step in front of that crisis moment when we all have those moments, right? Daily, probably, right? Why did I do that? Well, we can unpick that one, but really
Right.
maybe better not to create the
Right.
temptation in the first place.
Right. What I'm hearing too is you have this breadth of experience in the profession, one of the largest well known institutions, a lot of technical expertise. But really, when it boils down to it, the technical expertise doesn't mean anything if there isn't that behavioral, sociological, emotional, intelligent understanding of it all. I mean, you can be as good as you want with all the numbers, but if you're not connecting with clients and other companies that you're doing business with or trying to impact, it really doesn't matter. And that's a muscle. I think what I'm hearing from you in the work that you've done over time is that that's just as important as the technical aspect.
I will go out on a limb and say it's far more important than the
Hmm.
technical aspect. And I
Hmm.
say this as someone who used to run active portfolios. I was the portfolio manager for Smart Retirement. I was the manager for a long time for JP Morgan's Income Builder Fund, which is,
Yeah,
very
and you have a
widely used.
trademarked method.
All of that stuff, right? What I did as an active asset allocator and portfolio manager, sadly, I think is viewed by most clients as a commodity, because you can
Correct.
buy a perfectly good index balance fund for 10 or 12 or 15 basis points from some pretty reputable firms and get a pretty good investment experience. So, in my view, what really matters for that individual is somebody who's going to hold their hand and help them make better behavioral decisions. And one of the huge challenges, I think, for the financial services industry and a lot of financial advisors is I include myself in this bucket, right? We get drawn to this field because we think the markets are fun and cool and interesting. And my gosh, shouldn't you care about the fact that you're going to get half a percent more yield if you do this than that? And like, it's really cool, fun stuff. And it matters because at the end of the day, every single bit of extra return, we give our clients matters enormously. But you know what? Our clients don't understand it. And actually, I don't think most of them care. So, what they really care about is feeling safe and finding solutions that are emotionally resonant with them. And this is another conclusion I've drawn over the years is that what is the financially optimal solution often is not the right answer for the client.
That's really interesting because everybody is so focused on the result and what is the bottom line and what is the quarterly or the report, or when I log in and I see wherever my assets are, what is it, green, is it red, how much in either direction is it? And you use the word hand holding, and I just want to dig in that a little bit because it could be heard as a little bit of, I don't want to say patronizing, but it could be something like hand holding. I see it as shoulder to shoulder kind of partnering, and I don't want to like mince words and be a semantical litigator, but I have a financial planner and we've been together. It's like a relationship. We've been together for 20 years. Lately, we're in post pandemic mostly. It might be an endemic now, but the context has changed. During the pandemic, the markets did really well. Now we're in a whole different environment where things are a little bit more chaotic and unpredictable, and the same experience, at least of return, hasn't been happening. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm the most pedestrian financial
No, no,
guy
it's different.
along the way. It is. But for me, as somebody who has a financial advisor, consistency versus intensity, for
Ooh.
me, the mantra of the moment. And intensity could be, oh, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to short this. I don't even know how to short. I'm going to sell this off and this is down, or this is the timing is right. I have to run my business. I have my family to worry about. One of my children goes and does after school activities. Those are things I have my focus on. So when you say hand holding, it's more like somebody is occupying that realm of my activity, and they're trusted and they're powerful. And when I need to connect and get informed or educated, they're there. And I think that that's what you're saying. Could you underscore that a little bit further from your
Yeah.
expert perspective?
I think when I say hand holding, what I mean is someone who's going to help me literally hold out a hand
Yeah.
and help me through the intellectually complex, because the future is uncertain and the markets are complicated, and everything is unknown about the future, right? Which is what makes this so hard. Like, if we knew what was going to happen, it would be easy. And secondly, help you picking through some of the big emotional things that I think underscore the complexity of solving this whole problem. And I'll give you an example about what I mean. As we think about, as my husband and I, our corporate careers were fascinating. I loved 90% of what I spent my whole day doing. I challenge anybody to match that 90%. I'm not sure I feel that way now sometimes because I'm my own tech support, but I was ready for a different challenge. And as was my husband. And so we stepped away from sort of salaries and benefit packages into this much more sort of self determined financial life. And one of the questions we asked ourselves was, what is enough and what is failure? And I think about this story a lot. And this is where I talk about handholding, right? I think a financial advisor helping their client really understand where failure is versus good versus excellent versus aspirational is vitally important, and then helping them reground into that as you move through really tumultuous markets, which is sadly what we're in right now, and I think we'll be in them for a while. So by that I specifically mean my personal definition of failure stems to something that happened to me when I was in my mid to late 20s. I just moved to Italy. I didn't have a job. My husband had just gotten hired. We weren't even married that, for a very low wage. And we had so little money, and this is back in the 90s, that we literally debated every week whether we would buy an English language newspaper, which were really expensive, or meat. That's how little money we had.
Right.
And I bought a really cheap chicken at the grocery store called a pollo tradizionale, traditional chicken. There it was, all wrapped up like a roasting chicken. I was like, cool, we're gonna have roast chicken, and then I'm gonna turn it into risotto, and then I'm gonna turn it into pasta sauce, and like I'm gonna make soup out of the bones, and we're gonna have like a lot of meals out of this chicken. And I get it home, and I take it out of its little cellophane wrapping, and it is plucked.
Yep.
Not got the little head on, got its little feet on, and hasn't been cleaned inside. And I'm like, great. Okay. So here I am. I literally have to deal with this. Like, I cannot just like, throw it away and get another chicken. Like, I got to clean this chicken and take the head and feet off. So I get out my rusty, trusty joy of cooking and firmly grasping the neck of your chicken in your left hand, carefully reach inside with a sharp knife and right. And there I go, cleaning the chicken.
And you're doing your own version of Julia Child.
Well, thankfully not, although I did nick the bile duct, but which it said, being careful not to nick the bile duct, and there I went. But saying the chicken was fine and we ate dinner. I never want to be that poor again. Like,
Yeah.
that is utter
Yeah.
failure. Like,
Yeah.
I never want to be that poor again. Now, I said to myself as I was retiring, I'm fairly certain I won't be having to, kill and clean my own meat to live. But I did say to myself, I love to travel and I never want to be in a place where I can't afford to stay in a hotel where I have my own bathroom. I'm not going back to youth hostels, right? Like, I want to travel. I'm not sharing a bathroom. So last summer, my college roommate, who's a Vermonter and kind of a hardy, New Englander,
Sure.
asked me to spend a week with her on an island in Maine. And I said, oh my gosh, that'd be great. So she took over all the arrangements and we're on this ferry out to this island. And she said, oh, Anne, I'm a little worried you'll find it a little humble. And I said, oh, don't be silly. As long as I have my own bathroom, it'll be fine. And there's this little silence, right? And I'm like, okay. And then she said, well, there are 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, so it's kinda like just the 2 of us are sharing a bathroom, and I'm like, "All right, okay,
Right.
I'm on this ferry, here we are." And then she said, "I'm so sorry that they spent their PPP money electrifying the guest bedrooms. I'm really going to miss the oil lamps." Okay, and I was like, at this point, I'm like, "All right, I am so grateful that there's electricity at this point that I'm like,
Right.
whatever." And I had a great time and I wanna go back. So, okay, I've already jettisoned the bathroom, right? So
Right.
I guess my point in these 2 stories is helping your clients understand where various lines are is another way to help, as you say, that shoulder to shoulder. I called it hand holding, but like, how do you help somebody stay the
Yeah.
course?
Yeah.
What kind of emotional support do they need? What kind of intellectual support do they need? What kind of, and actually understanding, who your clients are. Are they going to resonate more with storytelling? I think everybody resonates to storytelling. Are they going to resonate more with, facts, figures, graphs? Differentiate between them if they're a couple. One person
Yeah.
may be more oriented towards one way, one may, but if you don't get that emotional side of the equation right, you're very likely to be proposing things, problem solving in the wrong dimension, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I'm just going to keep beating the dead horse. You've studied this behavior and modifying behavior and how we're a stranger in the future. Why do we want to give our money to somebody we don't even know? And that just resonates profoundly, like right in the bullseye with me. I think also it's quite obvious, just I'm kind of recreating what you said, is that the emotional intelligence and understanding the behaviors that you study as a financial planner and as a financial advisor is of paramount importance, if not more than the technical aspect. And that last piece that you just said, some require bars and graphs, some like statistics, some like an image, an infograph, some just like to have a conversation. Some want it over Zoom, some want it in person. It's not strictly along generational lines or gender lines, or if you're urban or rural, or if you're a dog person. People talk about diversity. And I always laugh because it's often right down to race or sexual orientation. And I'm thinking, hey, are you a dog person? Are you a
Well,
cat person?
exactly,
Are you
exactly.
rural? Are you urban? Are you ex-urban? And it goes on and on. Are you into sports? Are you into stick and ball sports or more into motor sports? There's so much diversity. And financial advisors have to have that emotional intelligence to be able to plug in and then adapt their hand holding, their shoulder to shoulderness, their accompanying you on the journey, educating, informing, transforming, helping define those clear lines as they shift in different stages of our lives. I want to shift the conversation a little bit, but keep it connected with all of that. Is that during the pandemic, the world at work, whether it's a hybrid, fully remote, work from home, half and half, whatever it is, that's impacted the financial services world as well. Whether you're dealing with a one on one client or an institution, how are you seeing that financial advisors are adapting, or, in your view, need to adapt in this new world at work?
I don't actually know that we know enough yet to know
Mm,
what the right answer is. I am a big believer in meeting people where they are. And I mean, I always used to say that as I was talking to my clients, plan sponsors, financial advisors back in the day, but also how important it is for people to meet their end clients where they are without judgment. So I think that's still true. And it is just true in more dimensions now, right? So literally, we're having this amazing connected conversation via technology. And depending on what people want and like, I have been shocked at how well it has worked. I actually was interviewed and onboarded as a board member for a company whose board I'm on now. And I did the whole thing on Zoom. And I finally got to meet people in person after I'd signed on the dotted line. And
sure.
I was shocked at how well I felt I knew people. So I do think that we shouldn't underestimate how well this technology can work. And having said that, I'm getting on airplanes and flying to Switzerland for 4-hour meetings and getting on airplanes and flying home again because I still think it's better to be in person. I get more out of the meetings, and I think I'm on a board of a Swiss company, and I think I can provide more value when I'm there in person.
Mhm.
So, can I be on Zoom when I have to be and I can't physically, make the meeting, or it's just not, it's sort of waste of money and carbon, frankly? Sure. I think for the financial advisor and client relationship, I think you kind of have to be client led in these things, right? And meet your clients where they want to be. Having said that, I think it is much easier to sustain a relationship on video once you've made that initial or, as early as possible in person, sort of human to human connection. And I think we underestimate how powerful that can be I think maybe most financial advisors don't underestimate this, but that person to person connection that is broader than just solving the technical logistical, mathematics of your portfolio and what you're trying to accomplish. But that goes back to, I think that human to human connection is in some ways a proxy for or a bridge into some of that other hand holding shoulder to shoulder stuff I was talking about, right? And I
Yep.
think that's,
Yeah.
and sadly, the more you dissect it and try to build a model for it and a process for it, the more artificial it can seem. It's really got to be a genuine thing. But I think it's incredibly important however you build it. And I do think it's possible to build a great deal of that via technology, but I don't think you can get 100% of the way there.
Yeah, I don't want to sound jargony, but how do you scale it? I agree with you. I don't think necessarily we know enough. It's so recent. You got to meet them where they're at, and it's a case by case basis. But if you have a lot of clients, how do you do it in an artisanal way? I think a lot of the history will tell you how to deal with them, but people get upended by big changes.
Something I found really powerful when I was still at JP Morgan was just chew up a day traveling for because we had clients all over the country or all over the world. And for us, once you'd had that first in-person meeting, you could really easily sustain relationships, online. And talking to my parents who are elderly and with their financial advisor. And we obviously moved to Zoom during the pandemic, but we've just kept it up because it's so much physically easier for my parents to
Yeah,
do this remotely. And
yeah,
it's fine, but I know them and we've been eyeball to eyeball in person. So there's that trust and that connection that we now can rely on. And at some point, I think it would be very helpful if we were to meet in person, which would require them to come to my parents now rather than my parents go to their office, just because that's the
sure.
reality, sadly, for my parents. But you can, like, I'm thinking once every 5 years in person is probably good enough just because
Right.
we know them, we trust them, we know each other, very long standing relationships. So you don't have to overcomplicate it either.
Right. And I will say, in the case of generations, the Zers and the younger millennials are definitely being conditioned and trained and developed with an advisor in a whole different context. Let's talk a little bit about those generations and social media. Again, I'm a little bit of a pedestrian thinker here. I know that FINRA, Department of Labor, some of these other organizations that regulate activity, there are challenges as a financial advisor to give advice through social media, or there's challenges, but people do it. What's some of the worst things that you've seen online with regard to
Ooh.
financial advice?
I will say that it's so liberating being a private individual now, rather than a regulated financial services professional, because
Unconstrained.
I can say whatever I want now.
Right.
The worst stuff that I've seen is, broadly speaking, coming from social media influencers rather than financial services professionals. I'd say something like 50 to 60% of it is actually perfectly sensible, sound advice. And like I got some of it's really good, actually. I'd say another 20% of it is, I don't know. And then I don't know, 10 to 20% of it just makes my hair stand up. And I think I would have gone to jail if I'd said that. But it kind of boils down to two big camps, right? The stuff that's in all caps, that is you must. Like anytime I see a must or have to or like a mandatory
Right. Like an
imperative,
absolute.
right, unless it's you need to, like, spend less than you're earning. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good
Right.
one, and despite what is going on in the markets right now, as a long-term absolute statement, like leaving your money in cash for a 30-year goal is a bad idea. Like, those are the 2 things that, like, not saving and leaving your money in cash are kinda absolute-ish, but actually even for the cash one, like, but what's your time horizon, right? Sometimes cash is the right answer. So
Yeah.
even there, it's like, but I see this, you must never buy a house, you must never rent. Like, those are both terrible answers.
Right.
So that
It,
must just
yeah. Go ahead.
reader beware. And then
Yeah.
the second one that I really find fascinating is, my kids or my kids' friends telling me, well, I don't trust the man, right? I don't trust advice from financial services professionals because like they're just trying to make money. And I'm like, what do you think those social influencers are doing? Like
Right.
they got a business model behind that. They're
Yeah.
either trying to set themselves up as a financial coach, whatever that means. They're trying to generate traffic to their website and it's clickbait, right? Or they're trying to pump and dump. And
Yeah.
and those are the three things they're doing when they're trying to get eyeballs on their sites. So, yeah, you should always be skeptical about someone's financial incentives and you should always understand them, but that is, I think, arguably way more true for an unregulated person in the field of finance, just like an unregulated medical advice. Like, why are you saying that?
Yeah.
So I put everything I've seen into those two big categories, and then like I have like I actually stopped keeping it because it was too depressing. But for a while, I was like trying to flag like worst advice ever, and I'm like, okay,
Right.
it made me too upset. But
Exactly. It became fun until it became depressing.
yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, I think intelligent people can have a conversation about cryptocurrency, and I'm sort of a bigger fan of the theoretical power of blockchain technology than I am about crypto per se. But I think that is a pretty famous, like, wow, did that one go way off the rails,
Well, I
as did the
mean,
Reddit stuff, right? I
yeah,
mean,
case in point, the GameStop. I mean, there's now a Netflix, I don't know if it's a documentary, but some type of program out there on that. And even recently, Kim Kardashian. Were you surprised by that? What does that
well,
say in general?
I have to confess I had several thoughts about that. One is, well, that's not a surprise. And then the second one was, why do people keep settling these lawsuits? I want somebody to litigate one of these all the way to the end. And maybe there's an obvious reason why she settled, which is so she wouldn't have the what I presume would have been the consequences of that. But sometimes, and I'm now putting my hat on as someone who was in the 401k industry a very long time, there are a whole bunch of frivolous lawsuits out there too that I wish somebody would litigate all the way to the end. And it's just too expensive and complicated for most companies who are being
Time
sued for things that I
consuming.
think, yeah. So, but I had two thoughts on that. But the big one was, well, yeah, I'm glad they went after that because there are way too many. The second you're getting paid for financial advice, you step into a very different realm.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, just by
yeah,
virtue of it, you're completely in a different paradigm.
yeah.
Do you think she was picked on because she was a celebrity?
Well, again, would anybody who wasn't a celebrity be paid to give that advice? And once you become someone who has a valuable internet following, whether or not you're a Kim Kardashian, you're in that same place, which is that
Yep.
you're perceived to have influence because now if it's because you have a million TikTok followers or it's because your
Right.
name is Kim Kardashian, in her case, both, I think you are vulnerable and you
Right.
should think carefully about what you're telling people.
Yeah, and the power of social media, we're here at the Keynote Curators. We've delved into it a little bit. I share with you not most, our activity on social media is exclusively with LinkedIn. I wouldn't call YouTube totally social media, but we're active there as well. I go back to my current mantra with my financial advisor: consistency over intensity. We
Yeah.
we're fairly consistent in our message. We've done a breast cancer awareness message and a Title IX message, which can loosely be tied into our clients, which do have speakers that speak to those topics and are easily and powerfully connected to business. the little bit that I've trained and learned on my own about social media is, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo and Kim Kardashian, over 50% of their followers are bots, and
Oh,
many of them are paid for. So their social media managers, publicists, whatever organizations are out buying in bulk these followers, that then what just happened to her, these cryptos are saying, oh, she's got 1 million. And they even know that half of them are literally fake, but they go for it anyway. So it's this whole complicit ecosystem. It's just, I don't know, it makes my head spin a little bit.
we could have a whole conversation about social
Yeah.
media and the way we're
Yeah.
consuming information and the role of the gatekeeper, whoever they are, whether in traditional, old-fashioned media land was the network TV stations who decided what to air or newspaper editors. I think, what I certainly, as we were raising our children and as I conduct myself in social media, I guess I always try to think of two big things. And the one we just discussed, which is how are people making money here and why? And what is motivating whatever they say? Because there's a motivation of some sort somewhere. And then the second one that I'm super focused on, something I learned in my very first job, which was working for Senator John Glenn. And I was told, I was 21 years old right out of college. And the advice I got then, and I think it's profoundly good advice, is never say anything you wouldn't want to see on the front page of the New York Times. Those are kind of words to live by.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how that translates into this new world where being famous is the point of the exercise or infamous, or
Right.
what is the
Yeah.
difference between those two words anyway? I don't know. But I just think like, words said now, whether they're captured on video or written on Twitter, live forever. And how comfortable are you with that thing living forever? And I was lucky enough, I guess, I don't know that I always thought so, but lucky enough to start my professional career knowing that anything I said could be captured and used, and had a interview done very early on that was completely twisted out of context, and that was a really powerful lesson.
Yeah.
Um,
It's your digital stamp, and the eternity of it is awe-inspiring, if you will. And you're right. This conversation about social media, and even if we even constrain it into the financial world and all its related impacts, it could go on forever. I want to ask you, I don't know if it's my final question, but just one final kind of general thought here. Your children are now out of college, I would take it,
yeah.
and you've transitioned, or you've made choices out of the corporate world and some more self-directed professional activity, which has its other challenges but also different types of fulfillment. What are you working on right now that has you most excited in your personal and your professional life?
So I just signed a contract with a very major publisher to publish a book that I've been working on proposals endlessly for 5 years, which is aimed squarely at Gen Zs and millennials on how to save for retirement. And I am so excited
Wow.
to bring this to the world. I mean, it really is the culmination
Are
of
we making
everything I've.
history here? Is this breaking news? Because we've never had an
Oh, it might
announcement
be.
like this. Even though it's a recording, we're making this is breaking
Hey, this
news.
is maybe breaking news. I've been telling people, but I haven't done the splashy announcement on LinkedIn yet, although I
Right, but you
will
haven't gotten the
soon.
reach from the keynote curators' curated
No, no, I
insights that,
haven't. So this is a big deal, yeah. So the working title is called Save Like a Boss, which I'm not 100% thrilled with, but we'll see if we stick with that or modify it. But it's really aimed at the Gen Z and millennial audience, doing everything we started talking about, right? Which is how do you confront the reality of your financial life, which is you're living in an expensive city, you've got student loans to pay, and the whole world around you is flashing signals at you to spend your money. All that brain science that I talked about, marketing figured it out before they knew there was a thing called brain science. Like
right.
they have been
Yeah,
playing us, and
right.
I can talk about the people who make, Doritos and Ginger Snaps, which are two of my weaknesses, but they're all pushing our buttons, right? So how do you hack your own brain to step in front of some of that, right? So I'm
Yeah,
I'm super excited about it. Is such a feeling of satisfaction that I have that I
yeah.
left JP Morgan saying I'm going to write this book, and like here I am with a contract writing the book, and I'm so excited about that. So I guess it's writing that book and then getting out and talking to people, both Gen Zs and millennials directly, but also to financial services professionals. Like here's how you can help people.
And first of all, writing a book is no easy feat. They often equate it with giving birth, and you'll probably learn not only a lot about the topic that the publisher felt you had enough command and authority on, and you'll probably even go deeper and reveal things that you didn't know. But the other side of it is it's a great avenue to give keynote speeches, which is what you do, and something that, we aspire to bring you to our clients. I believe a speech can change the world. And it might sound corny, it might sound too aspirational, it might sound almost beyond the realm of possibility, but I really believe it. You speak in front of 50, 100, 1,000, what it is. One person hears one thing you say at the right time that they may have heard from 100 other speakers in 100 different ways at 100 different times in their life. And they grab onto something from Save Like a Boss or whatever the speech is called and the book is called. And it has that ripple effect, and it can transform worlds. And it can be a pathway for that type of transformation. And it's exciting to me. I mean, I hear your excitement, but it really is something that I enjoy in the work that I do, to be part of the part that I play in it, small part, big part, whatever it is, a part, to be part of that. So I'm really looking forward to the book and to working with you.
Well, thank you so much. And I just, in closing, maybe, and riffing off that comment, I think the seed was planted in me to go do this honestly, and to write this book and to go speak to people probably 7 or 8 years ago when I keynoted a industry conference in Florida. And I remember going to the back of the room and taking off the mic. And I had talked about some of the things I talked about here about behavioral economics and how hard this is. And as part of my speech said, I used to really struggle with credit card debt, and sort of shared some of my own personal story, which I do in my keynote. And as I was taking the mic off, right, and fishing it down my back and doing all the weird things we
Right.
do with microphones, the guy the sound tech said, "Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody at one of these conferences talk to me."
Mm.
And it brought tears to my. I mean, I'm getting a little teary now. It
I got
actually
chill.
brought
I
tears
got
to my
chills.
eyes.
I got chills. I got chills. Yeah.
And that to me is the whole point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want somebody to think, I can do this. I am seen. I am seen and I can do this. And whether
And it's
that's that
possible.
individual,
It's possible. Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's so cool. You say 7 or 8 years ago, and you talked about storytelling might be a mechanism for financial advisors. I say the through line goes at least back to the chicken in Italy, if not
probably.
further. If not
Probably.
further. So I think we covered sourdough, Doritos, chickens in Italy,
I like
Gen
food.
Zers, millennial. I'm sorry.
I said I like food.
Yeah, we like food. Well, that I'm naming it too because those are the things that are immediately there for me. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and I look forward to another one when the book comes out or beforehand, and hearing from my clients once you've delivered a great keynote to them, how impactful it was. So thank you so much again for joining us on Curated Insights. If there's anything else you want to say goodbye.
Well, I just want to say thank you for such a great opportunity to talk to you about, in your audience, about things I care so much about. So thanks.
If you'd like to learn more about this speaker, visit our website at thekeynotecurators.com. There you'll find dozens of videos of speakers that are a perfect fit for your event. If you'd like to reach out directly, please click on the link below in the description. My name is Seth Dechtman, and you've been watching Curated Insights.